Now let's try to understand how the metaphysical and the physical interact with each other. Everything in this world exists as a duality between the spiritual and the physical, where the spiritual is powering up the physical so that it should become animated and alive. We say that the physical is only a shell, is only a container, a vessel that allows the spiritual to come into it. And a beautiful example is given about the eyeball. It's not the eyeball itself that allows you to see. That's only a container, that's only a vessel for the light from the soul that allows you to see. That specific energy that comes down and invests itself inside of the eyeball, that is what's perceiving the light around you. And the eyeball itself is only a substance, is only the matter, the physical, the container that allows that light to come into it. Now, the light before it comes into the eyeball is more on a spiritual dimension. And as it passes through the eyeball, it takes on a whole new dimension, and it comes into the physical world, where at that point you can process the light around you. The way you would see before it came into the eyeball is similar to the way you would process information in your brain, and you would only see it in your mind's eye. So the original light, the way it comes from the soul into the eyeball, goes through a dramatic change, and you don't have that original light anymore, and it takes on a whole new dimension as it passes through the eyeball. In general, everything in this world has an inner and outer dimension, where the inner dimension likes to remain concealed, hidden, and removed from expressing itself. And it's only after it comes into an outer dimension that it can then express itself in a subtle and similar way to the way it was before, but not wholly. It doesn't compare the way it's expressed afterwards to the way it is before. The same way you wouldn't say that the person that thinks thoughts in their head and expresses it in speech, the speech is only a sliver of what goes on in a person's brain, and he's only able to express a small ray, a small amount of what's going on in his thoughts. We say that there are examples of the inner dimension expressing themselves in the outer dimension when it comes to a person drinking wine. We say that there exists the same concept when a person is breathing. The constant expansion and contraction of the person's lungs is only a representation of the way energy is flowing in the soul, where the soul is in constant contraction of going towards God and going away from God to do God's will and serve Him on this world. And the heart pumping and the lungs taking in oxygen act in the same manner. So here you see how the inner dimension is expressing itself wholly into the outer dimension. We also see this when a person is excited about a newfound concept he came up with, or news that's exciting to him. It'll show forth on the person's face, and the face will show that excitement. Now, the more refined the vessel is, the outer dimension is that allows for the inner dimension to express itself, the more that light will come through unobstructed, and it'll be translucent the way it is in its original form. When God built this world, He used His speech to speak everything into creation, and He's consistently and constantly using speech to speak everything currently into creation every single second. But because the outer shell blocks our vision from seeing properly, we don't understand and see this clearly. While the Jewish people were standing at Mount Sinai, they were able to see how the inner dimension expressed itself fully in the outer dimension, and it caused the Jewish people to expire from their bodies, because the inner core of the light showed itself to the Jewish people on their inner core. We say that when Mashiach comes, we'll be able to see how God is constantly talking this world into creation, and the outer shell will be removed and refined so that it no longer blocks anything. In general, the entire purpose of creation, our work in this world, is to constantly refine the vessel so that the original light can come through and come down in its original form where it's unobstructed and everyone could see clearly the energy that's behind our world. Even now, when we learn Torah, we're allowing God to express himself inside of our brains and to become totally one with him, where the outer dimension and the inner dimension are doing the same thing.